when using the Zoom H6, we're not limited to only sampling or recording with one of the microphone attachments. We can also, of course, record directly to our SD card using any of our inputs here. So let's go through what you'll need in order to sample from, say, a cell phone, a laptop, or a computer, or a tablet, or even something like an audio interface. So our first option would be to get a cable like this, which is an 1/8" cable or 3.5mm. That is a stereo cable, okay? Obviously, both ends would need to be stereo if we're going to plug into a phone or into a laptop. This kind of cable would also work, okay? How it has 3 rings. You want something with at least 2 rings. If it just has 1 ring, you're going to end up getting a mono signal. So what we'll do in this case is, instead of course using one of the mics to, say, record a sample from YouTube, a video on your phone, audio on your phone, is instead of just recording, playing and trying to sample that maybe for a podcast or a soundboard or to throw into your DAW, to sample this in high quality, we can use this cable into the input here of our XY mic. And of course it has to be the XY mic because we don't have that input on our mid-side mic. So use the XY mic, plug one end into there, and obviously the other end will go into the headphone output, or into the headphone output of your tablet or laptop, or into the headphone output of your computer, or you can go into the back of the computer into usually a lime green colored output, and you can plug in there as well with this kind of cable. This process, by the way, will also work with your Zoom H1, okay, because we have that input right here. We have everything set up here. The volume on our phone is turned all the way up. We're of course plugged in to that input there, that 1/8" input for the Zoom H6. Again, this process would work the same way for our Zoom H1. In our case here on the Zoom H6, we'll go ahead and activate those left and right channels because that's what corresponds to this input here. We would of course play back on the phone and check those inputs to make sure we're getting the correct levels. Of course, monitoring this with headphones plugged into your Zoom H6. Then of course, head back on your phone to the position that you want to sample or record from, and then simply hit the record button here and play back on your phone. Then you can capture that audio in high quality instead of trying to rely on the external microphones. When using this kind of cable, the process is exactly the same for plugging into your laptop or your tablet or even your computer. Same exact thing. Now your next option is a cable like this. This is an 1/8" on one end to 2 1/4". Now we can use this cable in a couple different ways. The first way would be, again, plugging it into your phone, your tablet, into the headphone out, or into the output on the back for audio, and then plugging in, obviously, into any of our 1/4" inputs on our Zoom H6. And then obviously arming those channels, playing back, listening, and adjusting our input gain, and then recording. This method works well whenever you are using your 1/4" inputs on the Zoom, and obviously the other end into your phone or your laptop or what have you. And then you can also use the microphone that is attached to your Zoom H6. You could also, of course, use the mid-side mic and still record good, clean sounding audio using this method. Because as I'm sure you probably already know, whenever we plug in a cable to the line in here on our XY mic, that of course turns off the XY mic input, and instead we're getting input from this line in. So that's actually the other way we could use this same cable here. Instead of having one end into a phone, we could actually use this end, which is of course our stereo 1/8" cable, into the line input of the XY mic, and then take your 2 1/4" plugs, and you could plug that into the output of an audio interface, and then you could record from Pro Tools or whatever DAW directly into your Zoom H6. And the final option picks up from there in using 2 separate 1/4" cables, obviously, into our 1/4" inputs on our Zoom H6. In this case, we're just using 3 and 4. It could be 1 and 2 as well. And then of course, plugging the other ends into outputs on your audio interface, which is, of course, this would be connected to a computer, and maybe you'd have Pro Tools open or some other DAW. Obviously, arm your tracks, set up your inputs, monitor, of course, again, with headphones on your Zoom H6, playback, and then of course you can capture high quality audio from Pro Tools this way very, very easily. And with this method, you could also, of course, still utilize either the microphone on the Zoom and record at the same time as you're recording audio from your audio interface into your Zoom H6, or you could also utilize the method we looked at first with our 1/8" audio cable plugged into the line in. And of course, that could be plugged into a phone or a laptop or the output of your computer audio as well. So that's 3 or 4 different ways for you to record high quality audio from a cell phone, a laptop, a computer, or an audio interface, and record that directly in to your Zoom H6. And once you have everything recorded that you need, you can of course pop those files into Pro Tools or whatever DAW you like and cut them up, edit them however you like, and start using them in projects or even place them on a soundboard or something for a podcast.